Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create this beautiful Zendala tile which I have developed using 3 tangles from the Zentangle method as well as wax-based color pencils. So let's dive right in. Now, if you have been a subscriber on my channel for a very long time, you know that last year I started this series on my channel called Zendala Wednesdays, and I had done I think 3 or 4 projects which I posted every Wednesday, but life happened and then I had to stop that series midway. But this year I'm planning to go back to regular scheduled programming, and so on popular demand I am bringing back my Zendala Wednesday series. And so this is going to be the episode, this is the first episode that I'm shooting this year. I don't know what number this is, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think it's the 5th episode. So yeah, so this is gonna be the series which I'm gonna be continuing now again on my channel starting this year. So this is going to be our project for today. Now, for today's project, the tangles that I have chosen to work with are Oysteroid, Nanalee, and Diva Dance. And as always, I am going to link the creators of the tangles in the description box. I'm going to put their names as well as the step outs to the tangles so that you can refer to them for future projects. So I'm starting off my tile over here with Oysteroid, and I have done various versions of Oysteroid earlier in my projects, and today I am going to try and do a version which is slightly more organic, slightly more wavy, and it resembles more organic forms like algae and fungi, that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to keep it more organic today, and that's the reason why I'm choosing to do it with a more wavy stroke. So once I have 3 oysteroids on the tile, I am moving on to adding the Nanalee tangle. And I read the story of this tangle, and it was apparently inspired by banana leaves or something like that. So I don't remember the entire story, but I do remember some inspiration happening from banana leaves. So again, I'm going to link the step out and the story so you can read it later whenever you have the time. And so in this version for today's project, I am again using slightly more curvy strokes than what I usually use for my Nanalee tangle. And again, the purpose is to keep it more organic, more playful, and just to add some more abstract quality to the tangle. So I'm using my 01 pen today, which is the thinnest nib that I have available with me today. And the entire project is done using the 01 Sakura Micron pen. So I'm adding these leaves, or at least the tangle which resembles leaves, around the tile like so. So I'm basically sort of creating a centrally blooming circular composition, and so I'm adding them in pairs. And now I'm just adding in some details inside the leaves. Now this is of course optional. You can choose to skip it if you want to do some other kind of shading, or if you want to try some other technique over here. And in case you want to do it in a different style, that's totally all right too. You can add simple dots, or you can add lines and dots both. So you can basically play with whatever kind of filler or ornamental details you want to add over here. Now, one of the things that I really like to do with my Nanalee tangle is to accentuate the curves and the dips a little bit, because I think it builds more contrast in the tile, and also helps the tangle to stand out better against the background. So that's what I'm doing over here, and I usually do this in a very random fashion. I don't think too much about where I'm accentuating the curves. the only tip that I would give you over here is to not overthink it and just do it in a very, very simple manner. And also try to not overdo it, because then, once you go thicker, then you try to overcompensate, and then you go thicker and thicker and thicker, and then you basically reach a point of no return. So you definitely want to avoid reaching that point. And now I am adding Diva Dance. And so initially, when I started the project, I did not want to include Diva Dance because, well, I use it a lot and I wanted to try and not use it in this project because I wanted to push myself and try and come up with some other tangle combinations. But once I put in the Nanalee, the tangle just called me. Like, it just kind of, I don't know, it just urged me or pushed me to add Diva Dance, because you can see how beautifully Diva Dance is just sort of echoing the outlines of Nanalee, and it's almost as if they were like screaming out loud at me or sending me some sort of signal that, please add Diva Dance, please add Diva Dance. So I'm adding that over here. And while I'm recording this, I just realized at the beginning of the video I accidentally told you guys that I am using 3 tangles. That was a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm using 4 tangles in this project. The 4th tangle that we are using is Braze. And just recently I put in a sweet little tutorial for Braze on my channel, which I did for the Biju Be Well series in May. And Zentangle organized it in observation of the Mental Health Awareness Month. And so Braze was one of the tangles. And I have added a full video of that, which I'm also going to link in the description box in case you want to check out exactly how Braze can be done and how you can sort of add ornamental value to it. But for today's project, I'm keeping Braze very, very simple. And in fact, you will in a second just see in this video that I have also made a tiny mistake, which I've then kind of covered up creatively. So in the beginning, I started Braze the way it usually is, which is with a couple of thin sections, a thick section, couple of thin sections, and then a thick section. And then somewhere along the way, I missed one thin section. And so it just ended up being thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, which is fine. I mean, now that I've admitted my mistake, it's a mistake. But had I not told you guys about it, you would have totally not been able to find out that it was a mistake. So that's the benefit of being creative. You can fix your mistakes, and then, well, they're not mistakes. As we always say, Zentangle does not have any mistakes. There are no mistakes. Now I am just adding a few strokes which are going to act as fillers to get rid of all that empty space behind the Nanalee, which I didn't cover initially. And again, these are really, really simple, sort of like echoing the Diva Dance that we had added. You could use another tangle such as stipple or something else, something simple over here, so that it doesn't take away from all the bigger tangles on your tile. But I just decided to keep it really simple because I didn't want to clutter my tile more. Okay, and now comes the fun part, which is coloring. Is it the fun part, or is it the more fun part, or was the drawing the fun part? Anyway, you guys decide. I like both the parts, so yeah, I think both are fun. So now we are going to add the coloring and the shading. And as always, I'm using my favorite color pencils, which are my Prismacolor Premier Softcore pencils. I'm going to link the exact shades or the colors that I'm using in the description box, so that you don't have to do that hunt of using a color picker tool and then cross-referencing and then finding out the exact shade. I'm nice that way. I'm gonna put the exact color numbers in the description box, so you can just find them easily. And yeah, I'm just going to add some shades in a way that each of the tangles look a little bit more three-dimensional. Braze especially is a tangle which has the potential to look wonderfully 3D or three-dimensional once you shade it. So whenever I use Braze, I definitely don't miss the opportunity of making it look like that folded triangular thing, or it sort of reminds me of, I don't know, like rooftops of huts, or like folded paper or folded cardstock. It kind of gives me that kind of a vibe. So yeah, I never miss an opportunity to shade Braze in a way that it looks three-dimensional. And then for the Nanalee, I'm actually not really shading it to look three-dimensional, but more to look abstract, and for it to have this kind of variation or gradation in the leaf from bottom to top. And the colors that I've chosen are sort of reminiscent of like a banana or a banana tree color palette. And so I'm just trying to keep it as abstract as possible with yellow and green blobs here and there, which are then sort of getting blended in nicely with the colorless blender. So for tangles like these, I usually choose analogous colors because they go really well when you're trying to blend them, especially when you're creating a Zentangle inspired project, which sort of reminds you of something real, which in this case is banana leaves. Then I try to sort of match the color a little bit to the reference that I have in my mind. But then again, that's just my technique. I mean, at the end of the day, Zentangle is very, very abstract, so you don't have to stick to real life references. But I like that little sweet spot between reality and fantasy, and so I like to use similar colors. Now I'm just blabbering on. I should I should focus more on what is happening in the video. Anyway, so you saw me color the leaves, and now I have moved on to creating the oysteroids, adding the color rather. And for the oysteroid centers, I'm trying to give them a gemstone like feel. Now, if you want to learn how to create beautiful, shiny, glass-like, glossy gemstones such as these, then you'll be very happy to know that I have recently put my color pencil gemstone course at a discount on Udemy, and you can access that course now. It's going to be on a discount for a while, at least from the time when I published this video, so you can grab it. And inside that course, I cover all my tips and tricks on how I choose my supplies, how I blend my color pencils, how I create the shiny, glossy look. So everything to do with gemstones I covered in that course. So yeah, you can access that at a discount. And now coming back to our tutorial, I'm using similar techniques over here, not exactly very, very in-depth, but similar over here in this tutorial, where you can see that I'm creating this sort of three-dimensional look, a very stone like luminous look in the oysteroid centers. And this obviously takes a little bit of time, and if you're used to working with color pencils, then you know that layering is your best friend. So the more you layer, the more beautiful your illustration is going to look. So yeah, I'm just finishing up the centers using my color pencils. Once the centers are done, for the edges or the outer portions of the oysteroid, I am keeping very light tones because I don't want the attention to go away from the center, which is more three-dimensional and it sort of pops out. So it kind of looks like a little gemstone which is encrusted in or encased inside a bezel. And so it gives that feeling of like a bauble or like a pendant, from a necklace pendant, or like something like a earring dangler, some sort of a jewelry ornament basically. So I want most of the attention to be in the center, which is why I'm using lighter, more milky, paler tones on the edges of the oysteroid. Now, again, this is just my idea and my vision for how I'm shading it. By no means will I say that this is the only way to do it. You can, of course, choose to do a different technique. That's totally fine. But yeah, this is the vision with which I'm doing this project. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys. And I want to accentuate the three-dimensional aspect of the pendant or the oysteroid a little bit more, which is why I'm adding slightly darker tones towards the bottom of the oysteroid. Now, the best way to understand what the bottom of the oysteroid is to look for those areas where we accentuated it with the black weight, or the black ink rather, to add weighting to the lines. So we increased the weight and made them bolder. And yeah, so those sections are the bottom side, so to say, of the oysteroid. Again, that's just my terminology. It doesn't mean that it's literally the bottom. That's just the way I refer to it, as the bottom of the oysteroid. And yeah, with all of that done, we are finally finished with this project, and this is how it turned out. So I didn't end up coloring Diva Dance because I feel it gives a nice contrast to the rest of the tile, and I wanted to leave some sections white and not overclutter it. But if you want to color it with a lighter tone and have your entire tile colored with color pencil, that's totally fine too. So yeah, that's it for today's project, guys, and I will see you very, very soon in another video.